There once was a place that, for centuries, existed more as legend than a reality. It was called Timbuktu, a name that carried images of endless gold and towering wealth, and a city so rich it seemed almost mythical. Explorers dreamed of it, empires speculated about it, and many who tried to reach it never came back. On April 20th of 1828, one man finally did. His name was René Caillié, and what he found would shock the world. To understand why his journey mattered so much, though, you have to understand the obsession. For generations, Europeans believed that Timbuktu was a city of unimaginable riches. Stories described kings surrounded by gold, markets overflowing with trade, and a place that held the key to wealth and knowledge in West Africa. But there was a problem. No one could find it. No one could confirm it. Some had tried. One of the most notable was Major Gordon Laing, a British explorer who reached Timbuktu just a couple of years earlier. But on his way out, he was murdered, and his accounts were never fully recovered. So the legend remained intact until Caillié. Now here's what makes his story different. René Caillié was not a soldier backed by an army. He was not a nobleman with endless resources. In fact, the man was an orphan from France with a fascination for adventure stories and a determination that kind of bordered on obsession. As a boy, he read about distant lands and imagined himself in them. He left home young with very little money and began building a life that would eventually lead him toward Africa. But he did not rush into the journey. Instead, he prepared. He spent years learning Arabic. He studied Islamic customs. He understood that walking into unknown territory as a European would almost certainly get him killed. He knew the stories. So he chose a different approach. He would disappear into the world he was entering. He dressed as a Muslim traveler. He claimed to be from Egypt. He joined caravans and moved carefully through regions where outsiders were not welcomed. This was not just exploration, it was survival through adaptation, and the journey itself was brutal. He traveled across rivers, deserts, and regions controlled by different groups. Each one had their own rules and their own dangers. At one point, he became so ill that he was forced to remain in a village for several months, barely able to continue at all. Fever, exhaustion, isolation, all of this followed him constantly. And still, this man kept going. Eventually, he reached the Niger River system, and he continued toward his goal, moving with traders who carried goods across vast distances. These caravans were not simple travel groups. They were lifelines filled with merchants, animals, and goods that included everything from cola nuts to textiles, and sometimes even slaves. The world he moved through was as complex, harsh, and far removed from the romanticized stories as he could possibly have ever imagined having been told back home. But then after going through all of that, he finally arrived on April 20th of 1828. He had found Timbuktu, the city that had captured imaginations for generations. And here is where everything changed for him. Because what he found was not what he or what anyone had ever expected. There were no gold streets. There were no towering displays of wealth. There were no overwhelming signs of riches. Instead, Caillié described the city completely built of earth homes, modest trade, a quiet atmosphere. He compared it unfavorably to other cities he had seen, noting that it lacked the scale and energy that he had imagined. The legend completely collapsed. Everything people thought they knew about Timbuktu was based on exaggeration and rumor and distance. But Caillié's achievement did not end with reaching the city. He left And that's what truly set this man apart. He joined a massive caravan heading north across the Sahara Desert. Hundreds of men, over 1,000 camels, and a journey that would test every limit of endurance. The desert offered no shortcuts. It demanded patience, resilience, and the ability to survive with very little. And against those odds, Caillié made it through. He reached Morocco, then returned to France, carrying with him not just his story, but proof. He was the first man to have returned with proof that Timbuktu was real, but also with the proof that it was not what the world believed it to be. His account earned him recognition and awards, and even a place in history. It's pretty good for an orphan. He became the first non-Muslim traveler to ever reach Timbuktu and return alive to describe it. And perhaps more importantly, he changed how people understood exploration. Sometimes the greatest discovery is not finding something extraordinary, but it's realizing that the extraordinary never existed in the way people ever imagined it. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think René Caillié's journey is more impressive because he survived and returned, or because he was willing to challenge a legend that so many people wanted to believe and had died trying to find? Tell me your thoughts in your comments. I always enjoy hearing your perspective on these stories. And if you enjoy the deep dives into real history like this, make sure you follow the Facebook page and subscribe to the History Happens podcast so you never miss an episode.